Hey, what's up? Happy Sunday, everybody. Go Dodgers. They pulled it off, and I'm sure Eric, sorry about that, but that's just how that goes. Eric, you're here. Peace and greetings to the chat. Tony, hope you're feeling well. Thank you very much, Eric. I am definitely feeling a lot better. This cough, though, has been staying with me for quite some time, and it's very unfortunate, but it's getting better. That chamomile tea that you suggested a couple weeks ago or last week really helps out. Mixed with a little brandy, that will definitely help out even more. So we got a good show today. We got 4 students who submitted their swings. I took a look at them briefly once they submitted to me to make sure that the videos are at least good. And one student sent over some, let's just call it swings that look like they were recorded with a potato, but we'll make it work. We can kind of see, you'll see what I'm talking about when we go through. But the first students on the board, let's find out where it is. It is Patrick, my man Patrick. Very happy for the Dodgers fans everywhere. Always happy to see the Yanks not win it. That is very true. Love the chamomile with a twist. Yes, that is correct. So we have Patrick. Good morning. I saw this as an email to send swing analysis to. Welcome to the show, Patrick. Glad you sent this to us. Starting picking up the game a couple months ago, thinking it would be fun to play with my young son. That's awesome. Great thing to spend with your son. Even though I'm pretty consistent, where for a few months in, I'd like to eventually understand the basics of a fundamentally sound swing so I don't pass on bad habits. No physical limitations for me. Really enjoy your content. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you sending me your video, Patrick. And this is you taking a swing. And let me just tell you right now, for picking up this game a couple of months ago, it's really an impressive motion. I see a lot of good fundamentals here. If you are on the chat, could you just let me know? If you are, that's great, because I maybe want to try and ask a couple of questions just based on what I see. But if you're not on the chat, it's okay. We'll just kind of wing it, and hopefully this will make sense to you. So what we're going to look at is the overall motion between the swings. And I sync these up. So let's go straight to impact. Where is impact? Okay. And let's back up from the beginning. All right, so we do see that slight forward press. Now, Patrick does a good job. Patrick does a good job of getting those hands to be at least connected to the center of the chest. But you do see some kind of twisting, and we see the shoulder tilting that skips under to help get that club back on plane. Now, Patrick, what I'm talking about here is, let's start from the beginning, and let's just look at this spine angle here. And we're also going to look at where that plane line falls into. We do see that it's slightly toe based. We can see arches of the heel. Now, I know that these arches are kind of separate. This camera angle is a little bit off, but even if we take the middle of your arches, if we cut them in the middle and just call it, let's say right here, we can see that this is still a very toe based swing. Now, toe-based swings are fine if they're steep and you can get away with it. But the one thing that I do see with your footwork is we do see the footwork not quite being used correctly, which causes a little bit of this motion as we go down to impact. So we do see this forward press that we're talking about. Now, we're not going to zonk it. We're just going to look at how this works because some people can forward press and hit the ball pretty well. We do see a strong grip. So strong grip, forward press. Both those two things don't necessarily mean immediate distance. It means more body manipulations. Let me just put it that way. You have to be able to be tilting and turning and holding your angles, and you can either fall back and increase your tilting, but then you have to hold your wrist angle longer because you're actually tilting closer to the ground. So you have to hold your wrist angle. If you release it too soon, you're going to hit earth. It's not going to feel good. So let's just take a look at the motions and see from the top of your swing. So we see a beautiful, I mean, look how wide this top is right here. Hands are still out in front of the chest for only a month of playing. It's very hard to believe just because, hey, Patrick, thanks for letting me know you're here. Patrick, can you tell me, were you a baseball player? Did you play any other sports growing up? Because this is a very athletic motion, very solid move so far. But we see the width created. We see the great thing about this too, and this is what I want a lot of the amateurs to pay attention to, is at the top of the swing from this face on the left side. You know, we have an adequate amount of shoulder turn, right? So that's definitely past 90 degrees. Hip turn is probably, let's call that 40. So he's pretty close to 55, 60 degrees of X factor, which means that he can separate his upper body and lower body to create that torque. Now the key is bringing that torque closer to the golf ball without separating. The great thing that he does, and this is what I want people to pay attention to, is look at where that that club shaft is. It's almost matching that shoulder turn, and that is key because that means that his hands are very connected to his center of his chest. And when you can get in this position, things become a lot easier from top of the swing to impact. There's less things that you have to manipulate. There's less things you have to reconnect. Think about disconnecting, that word disconnecting. You have to reconnect to hit the golf ball. And you have a third of the time from the top of the swing to impact to do so. So the more things you've disconnected, the less time you have now to reconnect. And that's where a lot of golf balls pay its dividends. If you have the lifestyle to hit hundreds of golf balls a day, you can get away with a lot of things. But if you don't have that lifestyle, which most of us don't, let's be honest, we have families and we have hobbies and jobs. We don't have that. So we have to limit our disconnection. So this is something I want you to pay attention to at home. If you're not already, look at where that shaft is at the top. It should be matching your shoulder turn. Try not to get it back over in here, no man's land to steal distance, unless you are physically limited. Like if you have some severe issue where you cannot turn, then yes, we need to get the hands and arms involved to get that club back there. But then you have to just accept the fact that, hey, by getting your hands and arms too involved, you're not going to be a very consistent player. You have to focus on your short game. So that's where the sacrifices come in. But the key is what we're looking at is we see this angle that he's created here. So it's nice, it's facing upward. So he's going to have to reroute that. So let's take a look at this motion. So the first move, we see this diving down. So this is a good move where the left shoulder is diving down towards the ground. He's trying to retain that angle. He's trying to keep that center of the chest and the hands connected. That slight move, however, has disconnected him slightly. So if we redraw that triangle, we can see that it's no longer connected to the center. It's more connected to the right side. So he's gone from a pretty good connection. And then all of a sudden we have that turn and the hands kind of stayed back. And now they've connected to the right side. So we have to make up for that. But now we also have to play with the weight distribution. If we look at the right side of the screen and let's zoom in over here, let's get nice and close. I'm a little behind since I joined late, but I did grow up playing baseball. Yeah, I can see it, specifically this move. So watch your right foot. So we see that with the weighting. So look at the weighting. The weighting goes to the toes on the right side of the foot. Now we're going into transition. We're pushing off the right side. Look at let me do this one too. Let's zoom in on this one. So it's key to look at the footwork because this shows you where this tilting comes in. So look at the right foot action. See how the right foot pushes off, which is fine. But look at the left foot. So the left foot on the right side of the screen, we see just after impact, now it's going to kick over to the left heel. So this little motion here, your weight's being pushed out to the right, to the left side of your left foot. So it's rolling outside. And now we're getting it to the heel. So there's some issues here because it looks like you're sliding back left to try and compensate that forward press. And now when you slide back left, you have to have this late minute turn to get your weighting to where it needs to be on your back left heel. But because of that, what you've done is you have now sacrificed your shoulder, your posture. So let's redraw the posture. So we got the back brace line. Look at what happens to your posture as you strike that golf ball. We can see that crunching, right? So now all of a sudden you've crunched into the golf ball. And now you have to make up for that. So there comes the rotation. And now you try to get to that back left side and you straighten up your posture to match that. So when I see that, I'm thinking to myself, why is this occurring? Why do we have to have that spine angle, recorrecting itself? And if you take a look, first we know your heel, your toe based on your setup. So maybe we can get you a little bit more heel based. But the problem is you're such a good athlete that you're going to get away with this stuff. So we do it at the top of the swing here. We can see that you do have a left arm that gets fairly high, but it matches your plane work. So left arm gets nice and high, matches that plane work. And we take a look at the triangle check. Now, the triangle check, what you want to do is draw where your hands go right in between the triangles. Now, ideally, that's where your hands should go down. Depending on the position, some people get it more down initially because their hands are high, and because your hands are fairly high, but they're good on your plane work. You don't need to reconnect them as much. But the problem is because your hands are high, because of the way you started, your path is set for a steepness. You feel like this club is very steep. So now all of a sudden you have to get that club head down to the lower plane line quickly. So watch your hands. Your hands will start to veer up in that motion, and your club will veer down. Now, what is causing that? What's assisting that is this loss of spine angle. So here we're in our posture. When you start standing up your posture, things work down towards that lower plane line, your club head. So now you start losing your posture a little bit to get that club to the lower plane line. So there's that posture loss. But look at where the club is. Now the club's below. So this is a very tough issue when your club face is below the plane line, because now you're going to deal with contact issues. On the left side of the screen, though, you do a fairly good job of holding your angle till about here, but now your angle's gone. Remember that this point, when the golf ball, the guys and girls on tour, when their hands reach the golf ball, they are still holding on to most of that angle. They still have about 90 degrees of angle to deliver. Now, that's great conservation of angular momentum. We can't really, most of us can't do that. But you look like an athlete. You should be able to. When you get down to impact, you can see your hands are slightly ahead, but your club's already gone. So you're throwing your hands back out in front for some reason. But if you take a look at your impact, so if we zoom in on your impact, you'll see two different impacts. One is going to be a little bit skinny, which is this one. And then this one on the right side, we're going to see the impact is going to be a little bit heavy. So there's the heavy one on the right side, and the one on the left is skinny. So when I see this, and you can see the path of the club is coming so far inside because the club had dropped below that plane line, now you've got contact issues. And so I would imagine, I don't know if these are the same clubs. They might be, they might not be. But this is a big thing when I see contact issues like this. And we can see how much before that golf ball on the right side hit the ground. So right there is the point of contact. And look, so it's like a good ball behind. You might still hit it okay, but that's definitely going to affect your dispersions, not right or lefts as much as long and short. So, so in a nutshell, I mean, your cause and effect is a very athletic one. You make it work. I don't really want to recommend any changes just because you're an athlete and you're figuring out how to do it right. Now, if you were a student of mine, we would definitely be looking at maybe changing your setup slightly to allow you to free up a little bit, so you don't have to have this disconnection of your hands and arms, and then you have to shallow out your spine angle to get that club below that plane line to help you swing from the inside. So I'd first start out with maybe addressing your posture a little bit, trying to get the heels more underneath the hips instead of all the way supporting like your rear end. But secondly, what I would really want you to try and focus on is the weight distribution of your feet. So being a baseball player, look at this right side. And I hate jumping back and forth like this, but you got to keep up with me sometimes. So look at this right side of the screen here. And look at that right foot. So as you come on into your first transition, so notice how the right foot spins out. So the heel is moving this way, right? So the heel is going to move out, and then you start to spin. Now, what usually happens is when you do that, this knee buckles in a little bit too soon, and all of a sudden that's going to affect your tilting. So you're going to be tilting back. Now, remember, you might have to do this because of your setup. So just don't go and change this and expect you to hit like a tour pro. This is just cause and effect to explain what happens. But maybe work with something. And Greg Norman did this the best. And if you want to, I did a video somewhere on this channel about weight distribution. Just go and type under the search weight distribution of Greg Norman, and you'll see it. So think about your right foot. Typically what most people do is they get their right foot to pivot this way. Right? They're pushing off. This is, what is that? Counterclockwise. So they're spinning out, kind of like squishing the bug with baseball, right? You spin out. Do it the other way. So take some slow swings and feel like you're doing it this way, like your foot's going clockwise. Your right foot's going clockwise. Feel the difference. When you do that, your right knee doesn't cave in. It stays straight and will then push from the toes to the heels much more effectively, because this right leg is going to start to straighten out. And that, I think, is the biggest key for you, is learning how to use your weighting correctly, you're pushing correctly. You want to straighten that right knee out a little bit quicker so you don't buckle on your right side and your left back here holding your angle and you either hit it heavy or thin. So I know that's a long run around and you're brand new. I don't want to confuse you with much. You have a great swing for being in golf for a month to have this swing. Are you kidding me? This is an incredible swing for only a month. So I just want you to make sure you're going down the direction that you would like to go down, because yeah, you can hit the ball decent, but it's going to require a lot to keep this swing up. So I hope that helps you. I hope that makes sense, Patrick. If it doesn't, just let me know in the comments at the end of this video. I'll try and clarify it a little bit more. But great job with the swing. Keep it up. Just work on that distribution. Maybe get the setup a little bit more so it's supporting your hips and not so much your rear end, and work on that transfer of power. Right foot, try not to go this way counterclockwise, try and push off clockwise. And for you at home, try that. Everybody, try that. Stand up right now. Just get on your feet and get that right foot on your transition, push clockwise and feel the difference, man. It's a completely different feeling. It's hard to do, but at least that might give you some direction on what to work on. Hope that helps you. Let me know in the links, let me know in the comments below, and we'll definitely keep you up to date if needed. Next up, so this is the one that unfortunately looks like it was filmed with a potato. So we'll make our best that we can do. Those are both 7-irons. Now I'm trying to feel my hands downswing are a little faster. Let me see. Those both are 7-irons. Right now I'm trying to feel my hands at start of the swing are a little faster to impact. Trying to feel my hands. Yeah, I can see maybe that's what you're feeling, but you think about why you need to feel them moving faster is because that first move, you get this move going down and you're turning and also tilting and your hands are staying back. So now they have to catch up some point, but they can't do too much because anytime you increase that tilt this way, the ground gets much closer to your arc. So you have to hold that angle. So if your hands are overtaking the center, they're going to start releasing too soon because your wrists aren't that strong enough to hold that. So just be careful with that. That is really interesting. On right foot knee, I have been trying to twist knee to avoid extension. Yes, take it slow. I mean, that's why I say do things without a golf club first. That's why I recommend doing it at home. Just get in your posture, top of the swing, feel like the foot is not counterclockwise, but clockwise, and push this way. And you'll feel the weight go to your back left heel more efficiently. It won't take that knee and buckle in, but do it slowly. Okay, don't send me a message next week saying, "Hey, man, I tried this and I popped my knee out of place. I got to go to surgery." We don't want that. just be careful. All right. So if this is Mike. Mike didn't give me any notes, so we're in the dark with Mike. We no notes, and we've got something that resembles a golfer. Thank you so much for the view. Really great stuff. Appreciate it, Patrick. Let me keep in touch. Let me know how that goes. Send me an update in a couple weeks too. I want to make sure that we at least get you in the right track. So hopefully, Mike, if you're on, let me know so we can at least identify some of this stuff. That right foot turning clockwise puts the knee into a more normative position. Yeah, it's really interesting. And look at Greg Norman. Watch his footwork. It's really, really. You should see the spikes, the way his foot would move, completely different. So let's take a look, and we're going to try to connect something. I mean, we can kind of see a club here and top plane. Let's see if that's actually when he starts his swing. Hey, what's up, Doc? How we doing? Where's your video, Doc? We're still waiting for you, Doc. I know what you're doing. You're making it so, supply demand. You're making your demand so high that it's going to be like a special review once everybody's, oh my God, Doc's video's up. All right, so arches of the heel up. We can see that plane is very high. Now, when you have a very high plane, it depends on what happens. But we see that the arms reach back. Not a lot of hip turn. We see a little bit of stagnation on the hips. The hands have to start to take over. So disconnection already. So that right hand has already met that right shoulder, and we haven't met our center point of our golf swing. We get to the top of the swing, though. We're doing pretty decent with the arms. So the arms are in a decent place. How they got there, a little long. And, obviously when you don't have a lot of lower body involved, the arms have to make up for that. And right away, I mean, look at that. That's definitely some issues with steepness. Way left. Club face is wide open. So this could be some issues. Greg Norman, I sent in 5 videos on Mike. All of them are blurry. Yeah, Steve, I'm sorry, man. All of these are really blurry. I don't know what happened, but when I downloaded them, they were like this. But we're going to try our best to make it work, Steve. I appreciate it anyway. Greg Norman was the first golfer I fell in love with as a kid in those years right before Tiger won his US Open. I'll tell you what, Greg Norman, he was a beast, man. He was just, you want to learn how to swing hard, watch that guy. It's really fun to watch him swing. So back to Mike. Club face is open, very steep. Club is going to be fighting its, we got a path that's definitely left. Now, when the club face is even square to your target with a path left, you're still going to move the ball right. Now, imagine if the club face is right with the path left, that thing is just banana balling all day long. So I can probably see, every now and then you might dead pull one because that club face will match the path. But remember, it's all relative to targets. But let's take a look. Do we have a face on here? Okay, here's a face on. All right, again, we're going to try and figure out if there's a golfer in there somewhere. All right, so let's get these set up here. So we see almost like an iron setup. Golf, they get there. All right, kind of close. All right, so we got a forward lean. Good evening, everybody. Really enjoying the contact. Gil from Richmond. Gil, thanks for joining, buddy. Richmond, is it getting chilly there already? I know in the desert here it's dropped about 15 degrees, and for us it's nice. All right, so from the down the line, we didn't see much turn here. We don't see much turn with the lower body as well. We see more of a slide. Now, that slide could be to give you a better shot of getting that ball position out in front of your body. So if we take a look at the ball position now, we draw it up here. It's still just, not even, it's almost like an iron. So that shift to the right side, we can see that's at least going to get that ball position to shift out in front. Now, the key is, do we stay there? It might be very hard to stay there. When we see the body moving so much to the right and that shifting, we see the knee starting to buckle in. So we see this knee buckling this way, this knee buckling this way, which is a sign that we're just sliding and we're not necessarily turning. As a result, we see at the top of the swing, we have some sort of turn. It's not quite a lot of turn, but at least the good news is the club's not back over here. I've seen when people lack turn, they get their arms too involved, so it's not too bad. But this is the killer move, Steven. So if you see 39 degrees, feels like fall finally. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I lived in Colorado for three years or so, and the winter times are brutal. I couldn't play golf. I had to go get jobs at like Wingstop and stuff. So I remember March, I'm riding my bike to the golf course when it opened. It's like -2 on my bike. Wind chills like -10. My hands are freezing. And we'd go out in like shorts when it's 40 degrees. We're like, man, it's so hot. And now when we're in 4 degrees, man, it's amazing how your body adjusts. Steve Vick, I shot these with an iPhone 13 in slow motion. I also cropped them in the video. Do you prefer regular speed on these videos? Steve, if you can do regular speed, just because when I'm trying to scroll with this mouse, if it's slow motion, it takes forever. So regular is perfect. Where we make this work. So we know we slid on the way to the right side. Now we're going to have to slide our way back to the left side to get some sort of weight distribution. So we see the head returning back to where it was. We see standing up. We see you swinging down still, forward pressing. You're trying your best to hang back to at least strike up in the golf ball. The number one issue for amateurs that lack distance is you can't get the ball up high enough. So play more loft. Play 12, 13 degrees of loft. Play that ball up. Fall back when you hit the golf ball. The higher you can swing up on it, the less backspin you produce, and the higher the launch angle gets. You can cheat the launch angle. Cheat the launch angle by playing higher degree loft. So that's why we typically sometimes we hit the 3-wood better than the driver because of the loft. It's just the loft gets you a launch angle that's higher, and you de-loft the spin. You don't have a lot of spin. So ideally, Steven, what you're looking at is, if we go back to here, this setup could be causing a lot of issues here. I don't know how tall this gentleman is, but it definitely looks like there's a lot of crouching going on here. And now when you're crouching like this, it is very hard to enact that turn without standing up out of your posture. So number one, I would definitely work with him maybe standing a little bit taller in the legs, not necessarily the spine. Be careful of that. We don't want to just all of a sudden be like super straight, like a 2x4. You won't be able to swing. So I like from here up. That's fine. Here down, let's just kind of redraw it here in my beautiful Picasso-esque style. So it'll be a little bit of bend there. And then what will happen is this will obviously be a little bit taller. So And then the arms can just hang down slightly ahead as opposed to pushing out ahead to get that. And then we can lower his plane line. So once his plane line's a little bit lower, he's going to have a lot more to use, and he won't be so tight. So when the plane line's so tight, unless you have some severe rerouting going on to get that club to drop, even Mo Norman, even though he started up here, he still dropped it to that lower plane line again. It went from a one plane setup, and his first move, he took it back to two planes, and then he was stuck on two planes. So even though it's a one plane setup, even Bryson DeChambeau starts very high, and all of a sudden at the top of his swing, he drops it back down. He creates a two plane swing. So that's why I'm not a believer of one plane, two plane. It's just a swing, right? It has to work somehow. Probably 5'9". Wow, he looks a lot taller in the setup. So definitely lower bodies, a little taller, lower that plane line, because if you take a look when he gets to the top of the swing, he gets to that plane line. Like if that was his normal secondary plane, he gets there naturally. So I'd start him out where he's a little bit lower to allow him to come from the inside, because once you're here, if you look at the arm checks, we do the triangle check again. Let's do it. Barney purple, too many Barney purples. Let's go red. So we have this triangle check, and this is at the worst. You want to go down that line. When you have a lot of hands and arms involved, you want to be able to drop those hands lower quicker, and then you're going to be on that lower plane line, and then you can swing away. And you can add tilt, turn, whatever you want. As long as you're on that lower plane line, you're golden. The rest of it's all independent. But look at this first move. The first move just goes from here. Look at that. It's already stuck. It's outside of his triangle. There's just no way for him from this point on to all of a sudden drop his hands and tilt and get that club lower. Momentum's taking him that way. So you have to figure out what part of momentum. So remember this. From the start of the swing to the top of the swing is position based. That's the time you work on positions. From the top of the swing to impact is momentum based. The momentum, let me put it this way, the positions you set at the top change your momentum, right? So if you're lacking turn and your arms are way up here, your momentum from the top of the swing to impact, unless you do something like this, which directly goes against your momentum, you're always going to come from the inside out and slap at it and pull this thing left or banana ball it. So there's a lot of issues that I see. Your first move, once you get that thing set up, is you need that lower body to turn. So once you get that lower body to turn more, you won't have to rely on the hands to disconnect. And then his first move, he's got to get these hands to fall back down. Now, how he needs to do it, you can work on tilting. You can work on getting the right shoulder to help tilt down, which will pull those hands slightly down anyway. You can work on giving him a Jim Furyk type of drill where you feel like he has to reroute those hands to come from the inside. I mean, heck, even watch that the video I did about slices that what's his name did. Forgot the guy's name already. He fixed like 4 slices in a row. Go watch that. I mean, that's some pretty good stuff. I mean, obviously, it's a kind of a band-aidy thing, but if you work on the body, changing the core correctly with the posture, then you can give him those swing feelings where he's feeling like he's dropping it down, waiting for his arms to drop back down. Other than that, I mean, obviously he's got some limitations. I don't know what his rotation limitations are, but it's just that's a huge issue there. If you want any sort of control, you've got to get those hands at least over here. So we're off by, what is that, 1.5 feet? So give that a try. Hank Haney, yes, thank you, Vic. Man, I'm not even able to order from the senior menu, and I'm having senior moments. Must be the sun. I'm getting close to the senior menu, though. I can't wait for that. So hopefully that helps you, Stephen. Let me know if you need further help, but let's move on and see who is next. Oh, and yeah, if you can send me another video, Stephen, of him, obviously a little better quality would really help us, but regular speed. Don't need slow motion. All right, next up, let's take a look here. Young man. I got a notes here. Okay, this is from Gil. Son, G3. What's up, G3? Hopefully you're on G3. And Gil 2, G2, and G3. There you go, Gil. The link shows my son's golf swing. He just started playing tournaments and has been doing very well. Good for him. Any feedback would be greatly appreciated. My son's name is G3, 12 years old, been swinging since he was 3. Man, That is just awesome to hear. So already 12 years old with a decade of experience. Man, I bet you G2 and G3, I bet you 3,000 of my subscribers wish they could have started 12 years earlier. So you're way out of the game. Let's take a look at the swing. See what this looks like. Yeah, Eric, I should be in Wichita. Wow. Good motion. G2 has the G3 try to emulate any swings, or is this kind of his own swing? And also, just curious, when he started at 3 years old, did he have like some hand-me-down clubs, or did he actually have, qualified baby clubs at 3 years old? And I'm not don't mean baby, but you know what I mean, the little kids clubs, because that's pretty important with how the swing developed. If you can just let me know about that, I appreciate it. But good strong swing. Very DeChambeau-ish mixed with Dustin Johnson. Okay, his own swing. We used US Kids Clubs. Perfect. Did he ever take any development classes or any lessons at some point, or is just him hitting balls and just developing on his own? That'd be great if you can let me know that too. Yeah, I definitely see some Dustin Johnson here and some Bryson. Takes a ton of lessons. Do you know what the coach is working on with him? Is it fundamental work? Is he working on plane work? Um, the more detail you can give me, the better. I'd appreciate anything you have, any detail. Yeah, okay. I can see the swing generates a ton of power. Okay, let's start from the front while we get that answer here. So you'll see that G3 does something that most of us do. Not sure what coach is working on. Okay, no problem. Okay, so you see this, right? So this is where, oh man, this looks great. We've got this setup where everything is, got the shoulder, got the hands somewhat connected to the shoulders, to the golf ball. He's just telling me to play as much golf as possible. Good. I like that style. Okay, right before he hits it, though, let's take a look. We activate a slight forward press. Okay, so this is where his swing has evolved around this. And this is why I try to ask as many questions when I inherit a student, because it really changes how they learn the game and how their swing evolves and develops. Children are they're very touchy to work on, because obviously they're growing, their body's developing, they have growth spurts. They one day they wake up, they're an inch taller. I'm like, man, I got to change something in my golf swing. So it's very hard to teach children plane work, weight distribution correctly. It's all fundamental work. As long as you keep them on correct fundamentals within reason, and you just let them hit and let them play golf, just keep an eye on their fundamentals and address major issues. To me, major issues are massively strong grip, weak grip, planes going up too quick, too far inside, and that could usually be caused by incorrect clubs, which is why I always ask, what type of clubs do they learn from? Because I have a kid at one of my San Diego sites when I go and teach him. He's got these clubs that were given to him when he was like 6 as an adult. So he's learned how to swing these massively heavy, super long clubs, toes way up in the sky. So he's learned how to figure out in his body mechanics to make that toe flat on the ground at impact. So he picks up the club, fans the club open, jumps up into the golf ball, has this excessive amount of tilt, throws his hands already to get that club to match. And there's no way to change anything. It's too late. He's already 12. So we just have to kind of learn with that. I know the coach is trying to get his grip a little better, but he keeps going back to strong grip. Yeah, he needs a strong grip. So unless coach is also working on why he wants to grip. Let's say he wants to grip weaker. Okay, well, you want to change a weaker grip. You've also got to change something in the golf swing, because the strong grip is there because the swing is the way it is. If you change the grip, you've got to change the swing. You can't change one without the other unless you want the swing to fall apart. So let's go to the forward press. We got that. Let me see if that's where it is. Okay, so right there. So we have that slight forward press. Now, for those that have watched enough, and it's not a massive forward press, it's pretty decent. we know that there's two ways to get rid of this four press, right? So we're going to draw where the spine is tilting and then also where that four press is. Let's draw this in green. So we have two things that need to occur. Number one is the most common one. We're going to draw this in red, where we see that center of the chest will find the middle point and try and match up these two circles. And I don't want to bore everybody that comes every week. If you know what the two circles are, it's basically the circle of the club shaft and then also the circle of your spine angle. Right now, they're set two different low points, and he's going to have to try and figure out how to match them up within reason to get away with this. That's the biggest, most common one, is to get that body to shift left and line up. But then all of a sudden, when you're shifting left for the driver, now you're going to be a little steeper. You're going to increase the backspin. It's not a very good thing. Your club face might be open, so you have to learn how to flip it. Maybe that's why he has a stronger grip to help him close the club face. But let's just take a look at what he does. So we're going to go to the top of the swing. Sorry, before we get that, the second option is his upper body will actually fall back this way to get his hands to connect with the tilting. And the problem with that now is we see good players do this. We see them tilting back, but they have to be able to hold their wrist angle a lot before they hit the golf ball. So that's the least common one. We'll see what he does because I'm curious here. So we get to the top of the swing. We see the shifting. So now we're getting kind of left heavy. So we see all of a sudden the upper body is towards the ground, which is more for like an iron. We see a club face closed, which is why I see why the coach is like, hey, you know, let's weaken that grip up because the club face might be closed. But, you know, if he's playing tournaments and he's doing well with the closed club face, do we need to change it? I mean, that's the golden question. But what he will try and do is he feels this, right? He's going to feel this, and he's going to say, how do I get myself to right the ship, but then hit the golf ball? So at the top of the swing, we see the upper body now falling back, right? Boom, boom, it's going back, going back, going back, going back, going back. Now look at this angle. This is a phenomenal angle retention here. So the club, Tour Pro, that's like Tour Pro right there. Not the body position, but the hand position. So this is a key thing, is why would we want to sacrifice body positions by making changes to the grip? Because if you make a change to the grip in order for him to hit the golf ball, let's say he works with coach and coach says, I want you to be a weak grip. I'm going to change your grip to be weaker and stay with that weak grip. Your body will adjust. So then his body's going to learn how to adjust. Now, let's say his body learns how to adjust, hits the ball a little bit more consistently, but we go down to impact. And by doing that change, he's over here now. Did we do him a disservice? Did we all of a sudden change because he needs to look better? Now, that's the key thing, is like his misses. So Gilbert, do you G2, do you keep stats like where his misses are? That's a key thing. You know, if you see a two-way miss where it's banana ball right and rope hook left, okay, maybe there needs to be a change, the body and the grip together. But if he's pretty solid and he very rarely goes one side, but mostly goes to the other side, you can play that. That's competitive player. Competitive player can rely on the miss and start to aim according to the miss under pressure situations, because the pressure situations will bring out your misses. So let's say you pull the golf ball mostly. You get to a par four, there's a lake on the left side, and there's a pressure situation. Where are you going to aim? You're not going to aim in the middle of the fairway because pressure kicks in. You pull it into the lake. You're going to aim way right and play the pressure. And if you hit one good, hey, you're still in the right rough. It's better than being in the lake. So there's a big thing like that. He hits the fairways over 75%. That's, man, tour level, 75%. Greens and regulation, 66%. So if he's emulating this, man, there's no reason to touch anything. Just let him play. So coach is right. Let him play. So he's got that good angle retention. Let's take a look at his upper body. So his upper body's still trying to fall back. So he is that second guy where he's trying to get his upper body to fall back this way. So that is a very good sign. That is a good sign of somebody that is very athletic, can manipulate the body, and he feels he needs to get the weight pulled back. So as he strikes the golf ball, you can see, look at the weight, the body's still moving back. Look at his foot. Even his foot has to clear and go back. So everything's trying to pull back because he's turning and pulling back. So I say from this face on, it's phenomenal. I would say maybe if you want to do a little bit of a change, because I do see a little bit of the hands having to get right there. They're holding off that release, right? So we still have that strong grip, which is good. Right here, look at that, boom. And this is Dustin Johnson. So if you look at Dustin Johnson's swing, he has a very similar setup, strong grip. He has a little bit more tilt though, because he gets his hands a little bit more out here because he's swinging more up. So if you want to try and get that tilting to increase, give it a try. But I think what's avoiding that is the ball position, because if that ball position is slightly more ahead, a couple things are going to happen. So if you put that ball position, 2 golf balls up. Now as he strikes a golf ball there, here in this frame, he's already hitting it, right? So there's that striking. But he still has maybe another frame to hold on. He won't get his hands involved, but he'll start to learn to tilt his shoulders more to get those hands to be a little bit ahead. So we're substituting throwing of the hands to match that center of the ball to now holding the angle longer and tilting more and falling even further back, which is what he wants to do. So you want to promote what he wants to do. Right now he's blocked because of that ball position. So I would recommend maybe doing that slight little change. And let's redraw that ball position, because if you take a look at the start of his swing, even with that slight forward press, right there. Okay, so slight forward press. So even with that slight forward press, look at where that golf ball is in relation to his center of his chest. It's right where it needs to be. I know that's going to be a very unusual change for him, though. Take it half a ball at a time. Don't just all of a sudden put it out 2 golf balls. Give it a try, but explain to him, look, we're putting that ball position up there, and the reason we're doing that is to allow you now to fall back even further and tilt more, because you can maintain your wrist hinge. That's a God-given talent that most people cannot do. So we're going to use that talent to learn how to hit the ball up by increasing your tilt. So just be careful doing that. Small changes, half a ball, do that for a week, half a ball more, and just watch it. And if you need me to take a look at this again in a couple weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, send me another video, face on, beautiful camera work, by the way, nice, clear, nice angles, and we can do a comparison. And I really want to see that difference, to see if we're increasing his tilt, to delay the release, to now swing more up. It'll give him a higher launch angle. His club will actually be moving bottoming out just before the ball and actually swinging up. So you want to try, Tour Pros are +4, +5, the really good ones. Spin rate, I don't know what his spin rate is, but I would imagine it may be mid-3s, high-3s. If you want to drop it down to, low 3s, high 2s, man, he's going to just all of a sudden add so much more distance. So give that a try. Hope that helps you. Keep in touch. Let me know if he sees this, and thanks for the support. Appreciate it. All right, next up, let me take some coffee here. A sec. Okay, this one, you might recognize him. We did his swing. Will do. Thank you. We will absolutely keep in touch. Thank you, Gilbert. Appreciate it. I love working with children and seeing them. They're my favorite to work with, just because they're like a sponge, and it's just so cool to watch how they hit the golf ball. Where we're so analytical, adults, we always want to know why and want to hit the ball super far, and we're just not capable. We're like old tortoises that are just stuck in a shell, and we want to be like snakes. It's not going to happen. All right. So this one is Aaron. Aaron sent me a video, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. We did an analysis on him, made some changes. He's made those changes, and this is an updated swing, so we can kind of look. We changed his posture. So his notes are, I like the posture, but the new backswing I don't necessarily like. I feel like I'm now way too inside, which makes my steepness more prominent. But in reality, because I'm now taking it inside so much with even some steepness, I feel like I am in a better spot in the downswing than my old swing, if that makes sense. But the issue with the new backswing is that I feel like it is too long. The club head tends to just go a little further than I intend to, making the butt of the club face away from the ball. Is there any way I can make my backswing more short and compact? Is this fine, and am I overanalyzing it? Because I'm hitting it pretty good as of late. So that's us in a nutshell, right? Even though we're hitting it better, we're like, man, we can just improve a little bit more. So remember, this is like an ocean. Golf is like an ocean. If you surf, you know what I'm talking about. Some days the waves are just perfect. You could ride as many waves, just enjoy it. Other days you'll be out there, it's like a lake. So this might be a transition point where you just enjoy golf. So keep that in mind. But let's just take a look at your swing. I know you only sent me down the lines. I think we only got some down the lines here. That was the old one. Okay, so that's a new one. So we did see, no, we moved the legs much more back, right? So we can see at least now the legs are supporting the hips. So good job with the change. I think that's going to definitely help you out. Now, what you're feeling, sometimes feel isn't real, but let's just take a look and let's just make this easier on ourselves because now this is slow motion. There. Let's go to impact. Okay. If you guys can just send me normal speed, that'd be awesome. Because this slow motion, my mouse is going to blow up. And I have an old dinosaur computer anyway. Last thing I need is a broken mouse. All right, Barney Purple. Let's take a look at that spine angle. Let's look at the footwork, see if there's any changes here. Okay, much better. Obviously there's the other heel, so it's going to be in the middle. Look at that. So it's definitely supporting, doing a much better job. We have more clearance room, which is good. Now, obviously, when you had an older swing, because you were very close to your hands, you found a way to manipulate that. You're going to carry some of that with you. But if you take a look, that club is doing a pretty good job here. I mean, it's staying relatively close to that plane line. Some of this could be a camera angle. If you want to get nitpicky here, you can get that club face a little bit higher. But the key thing is that connected to your spine, and it is. So the midway checkpoint looks pretty good. We get to that top of the swing. We can see that you do a really good, look how long you stay in that lower plane line. So this is a key that this person is just staying connected. Look at that. It's like the same starting position halfway back. So this is actually a very solid backswing. We get to that midway checkpoint in terms of where his weighting is. Now the hands should start to veer the way up, and they do. So they get to that secondary plane line. We see right there, it looks great. Now this is probably where you feel like the hands are going a little bit too long, the club's getting a little bit too involved, and you're probably right because you see that motion there. Right, so we see we're moving that, but what we see now as well is the club face is definitely closed to your left forearm, but it's open to your spine angle. So we do see a little bit of rolling. Do we want to see more rolling? Not really. It's looking pretty good considering you're hitting the ball pretty well. So what we see here is if we go back down, let's keep that one up there, and let's put your triangle check in red, and your triangle is going to be a little bit different just because your arms do go a little bit further back. And if you are on chat, that'll be great. If not, I'll just let you know. If you can, Aaron, send me a face on. Man, I would just kill to see a face on because a lot of this does have to do with ball position relative to your tilting and how you're holding that ball position accountable to your tilt. And they do work in unison. If you're changing your tilting during the swing, the ball position also changes as well. It's not like a magic ball that moves, but it's relative to your tilting. So that's a key thing. So we see the arms do fall down. They get slightly on that right side. So we have a right-sided motion. So you're going to feel it kind of steep. Now let's see what you do to counteract that. So we see a slight increase of tilt. So we're starting to lose a little bit of our posture, which will allow that club to fall back down. So the path of your hands is key. So anytime you see a increase of spine, so in other words, anytime you start standing up, your path will switch to move a little bit more out and away. So we see the hands getting a little bit more out and away a little sooner, but they kind of need to do that to get that club closer to this plane line. So you fall right on that plane line perfectly. We look at your spine angle here versus your club face. It is right there. Hey, I'm here. I'll make sure to send a face on next time. I forgot to take one that time. No problem, Aaron. Face ons really help out. Is that a car in your picture? What car is that? I'm a big car buff. Let me know what car that is. So your spine angle is looking good compared to your new spine angle, right? It's still close compared to your old spine angle, but it's good compared to your new one. It's still pointing on plane. So even at this midway checkpoint, this is kind of where your feet are aiming. So things are looking pretty good. As you strike the golf ball, there's not much manipulation in the club head. We can see that the club is now just barely turning over. So it's a little bit close to where it was pre-impact. And we just see it moving along. We get the arms to escape a little bit lower. So I imagine your path is slightly left path. So you have a slightly left path. Your club face needs to counteract that. So let me just put it this way, Aaron. Yes, we can say, hey, look, let's go to the top here. Let's get you to stop your swing right there and call it a day. But now the problem is you have now ingrained this motion, right? From this point on to here, you've ingrained that. So This is one of those swings where you just play with it. You do such a great job of setting your foundation early with the swing, which means you can get away with more. So the more turn you have, the more you stay in your tilting, and we can see you do a really good job of staying in your tilting. You know, look at that. Look at your left shoulder. It's right. Look, it's perfect. Right here. You're better than 90% of golfers. Look at that. It's like perfectly tilted, perfectly turned. Hands are still in the center. That is why you probably hit the ball pretty well, even though you're a little bit long. It's okay because your first initial part of the swing has been set up for success, and that allowed your weight distribution to be stored correctly. So yeah, if you take the swing a little bit longer, it might bump your weight shift a little bit to the left side, a little bit quick, a little bit. It's okay. I mean, you've done such a great job early on that you can get away with a little bit of this. I email my videos on mic from my iPhone to my PC, and the videos are clear on my PC, so I don't know why they're blurry. You know, I don't know why either, Steven. But when I downloaded it, it had me go to a Google site, I guess a Google Drive. So I don't know if when it uploaded to the Google Drive, it uploaded it in a very low resolution. I tried downloading it a few times. That's the best I can get. So hopefully that helps. But Aaron, you can see this ball. I mean, look at this ball. You know, that's where most of your golf balls are going, and it sounds like you're hitting it pretty good. I say don't change much. Just kind of go with it. Things look pretty good. You lose a little bit of posture, a little bit of spine angle, but hey, I bet you a lot of people will kill for that swing. I think that from start to midway points, it's one of the best swings I have seen in quite some time, just because you basically carry your starting point over and stay tilted and turned in relation to your starting point. So that is key. So if anybody's at home watching this and you want to know how to hit the ball a little bit better, it's all the foundation of your golf swing. Now, obviously, foundation is correct fundamentals. Now, there's no such thing. Let me back this up. There's no such thing as correct fundamentals. The fundamentals are your fundamentals, and your fundamentals are based on so many things: torso length, arm length, leg length, rotation ability, hand-eye coordination. There's so many things involved. That's why yes, we like to look at stuff from a neutral point to kind of see cause and effect. But once you know your basics and how it affects your swing and your timing and your sequencing, then you can make adjustments. The number one key is, how do you get that club face at impact squarer to the target? That's the number one key. Now, if you continually return the club face slightly open, but it's consistent, play it. There's no problem with that. Who cares if it looks funky? As long as it's consistency is number one. As long as you have consistency, you will be a pretty good ball striker. And once you get your ball striking abilities down, then you can focus on short game and scoring. Remember, it's a scorecard. It's not a postcard. I don't care how the swing looks, as long as you can repeat it and it's the same. The swings that I see that have these two massive misses is because the swing is always changing in the downswing, because it's in a position where it is forced to have so many reconnections and little idiosyncrasies that it has to learn to move around, that it's going to give you a club face that's going to be like this at impact. There's just too many things going on to precisely get that club face to slow down enough where it doesn't have to rely so much on path. And so path and club face, they work hand in hand. But the ones with the square of club face don't have to have a path that's all over the place, and vice versa. If you have a path that's all over the place, the club face doesn't have to consistently accommodate that path. I don't know. Hopefully it makes sense. Hopefully I will do regular speed videos in the future. Perfect. Thank you, Steven. Yeah, anybody watching, please just send me regular speed. Because, man, this mouse little scroll button is getting worn out. Unless you want to send me a new scroll button, that would be great. But that's all I got for today. Thank you very much for those that have stuck with me throughout this whole video. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks for the analysis. By the way, the car is a wide body C8. Yeah, you know, I used to have a C5, a Z06, and I got rid of it. I wish I didn't get rid of it, but that's a great car, just old muscle. So thank you very much for the support of the channel. I really appreciate it. For those that are still sticking around, thank you for watching the videos. Thank you for sharing this stuff with other people. GG, Doc. Thanks, Eric. I appreciate it. Great session indeed. Hopefully you guys are at least learning about this stuff. Remember, it's not the be all end all. I'm not saying this is the only way to do stuff, but this is education for you so you can start to learn about your swing and not rely or go search down the YouTube wormhole that you get sometimes more confused than there is. There's plenty of good knowledge out there, but how do you apply it and when do you apply it? That's the key. So I'll see you guys this week. I'll be uploading more videos, but take care, everybody. Have a great week and make sure you practice correctly. That's the key. Fairways and greens, everybody.